Can you develop speed?
You absolutely can develop speed. And especially if you have no instruction, you can improve dramatically. Like
Hmm.
when we worked with the combine guys, nobody had ever taught them how to run. One day we had nobody under 6'8" and nobody under 300 pounds. And you'd think that would be really hard to teach somebody that size to sprint. But it really wasn't. It was like we were making miracles happen because nobody had ever taught them anything.
The need for speed.
I mean, let's get right to it. What inspired you to write The Science of Speed?
Well, I had written, I'd co-authored a previous book called Mechanics of Sprinting and Hurdling, and it was very sciencey. It almost read like a textbook. And I got some feedback from coaches saying some of them, it was too much. They couldn't get through it. They couldn't get to the meat of what they wanted to know. So what I really wanted to do was make it more accessible. My father, Dr. Ralph Mann, was an Olympic silver medalist and world record holder. And I started working with him as a child, filming track meets, and then as a teen doing analysis. And so the mechanics of sprinting and hurdling was more in his voice. He was more about the science, the equations, all that stuff. And I'm different. My voice is more, I want everybody to think that, I don't want people to think science is scary. I don't think science should be limited to people who are in colleges and academia. I want everybody to say, okay, yes, I see that. I understand that and I can apply it. And I want to take out the mystical part of science and math and just look at it. You can understand this and you can do this for yourself.
Okay. That's so you mentioned your father. And for people who are not aware, in 1972, I was only 12, so I wasn't up to speed on the Olympics as far as following it. But anyway, Ralph Mann, he won correct me if I'm wrong, a silver medal in 1972. Were you born at that time?
I wasn't born yet, no.
Okay. So at what age did you realize, whoa, my dad did something pretty amazing?
Well, I don't know if you've had much experience with elite athletes and people who are extremely competitive, but for him, that was a failure because he won the silver medal, not the gold medal. And so, and he was the reigning world record holder at the time, and the man that beat him, John Akibua, broke his world record. So it was kind of a double whammy. So we didn't really talk about it in our house.
Really?
Yes. So, but as I became an adult and got my own point of view, I realized this is a major accomplishment. This is something that most people will never even know somebody who has that,
Exactly.
and so it changed my perspective. I just think that a lot of times there's no gray area when it comes to elite athletes. They either want to be the best in the world or it just doesn't matter. And I like to change that perception. I think that, if you PR, it should feel good and you're making progress. You should base your expectations on where you're at and not always have to expect the most perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Munich Olympics, obviously, certain things come to mind that are not positive.
Absolutely. It was very true.
But it's a great accomplishment. I understand his view of not getting the gold. But what was, one of the biggest lessons he taught you that you still, shapes your work today? What has your father taught you that still shapes your work currently? I'm sure there's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of things.
But persistence can make a big difference. And dedicating your life to something. He dedicated his life to track and field. So he put so much time and energy and effort into it. And so he taught me that, yes, that's very important, but I have a more balanced life. So I have a family and I have, a network of people that I love that I like to spend time with. So I like to have a better balance of my life. So he taught me that, yes, if you want to be great at something, you really have to have that at the exclusion of all else. And unfortunately, I wasn't as talented as him, so I only ran collegiately. But then I got that fixed, and now I'm doing something different, and I have a more balanced life.
Hmm. Growing up, grade school, high school, you see who runs fast, right? You could just, well, that guy's fast, that girl's fast. Some people are not so fast. Not even playing sports, just playground stuff. So some people think it's born. You're born with it, but can you actually develop it? If you're John Sloth, can you develop speed? In
You
your opinion?
absolutely can develop speed, and especially if you have no instruction, we you can improve dramatically. Like when we worked with the combine guys, nobody had ever taught them how to run. So, we had one day we had nobody under 6'8" and nobody under 300 pounds. And you'd think that it would
Jesus.
be really hard to teach somebody that size to sprint, but it really wasn't. It was like we were making miracles happen because nobody had ever taught them anything. So we didn't have to unlearn anything, and they didn't think that they knew. So they were very open and ready to listen, and we made really big improvements with them, and it was really exciting. So even a regular person, like, of course, strength matters, of course, flexibility matters, those kind of things that are outside my area of expertise. Yes. Sometimes I try to teach an athlete something and they just can't physically do it. But then at least we identify why. Are you not strong enough? Do you have a mobility issue? Is there an unintended injury that you're not addressing? So, but absolutely, if you wanted to run faster, I could make you faster.
Cool. Is the book strictly for track athletes?
Absolutely not. I have a whole section on distance running and rucking because I have a son that's in the military. So I did some research on that. I have a whole section on team sports, and then I have another section on winter sports.
Can you, I mean, yeah, I played hockey, not on a professional level, but could you teach speed to, is that a different animal because they're skating?
So we did the research because of the way that hockey is set up in the Olympics. It's really not very accessible to film and analyze because there's a lot of different moving parts with the team. So we did speed skating. And so it's very similar, though, the same kind of concepts. I didn't include that in the book because it's very complex. Speed skating, you apply the force perpendicular to where you want to go. So there's a lot more research and filtering it down so it's not so complex. So I did not include that one, but I did include luge and skeleton. There's a lot of overlap in track and field between those. People run track and field, and then they'll be in the Winter Olympics. And also we did some research on skiing. So the speed skating and the skiing are the two things that I didn't include because they're really complex, and I just really wanted to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, I never thought about speed with the luge, you know. I mean, you need to get up and go
Mm-hmm.
before you start luging, or if that's the right term. CompuSport, what's going on there? The company CompuSport.
Well, my father founded it in the 90s, and we worked with track and field and baseball, football, golf. We have all different models, mostly just related to speed, though. But if you look at a football game, soccer game, a rugby game, they're sprinting at some point in the certain positions. They're sprinting, right?
Sure.
So it can be applied across all things, and really that's what I'm trying to do right now is expand it outside of track and field, but also make the people that are on the ground, like the AAU track and field guys and the college track and field coaches and the college track and field athletes. I want to empower them. I want them to be able to read it and say, okay, I can see this, this, and this. I can be my own little piece of a biomechanist and apply that.
How do the athletes come to you? I mean, do they contact you, or is it a collegiate, students only, or how do athletes, and do they have to be athletes to come to you?
No, I have a website, so I get some contact there, but mostly I've just been in this industry for so long and I know a lot of coaches, and I
There you go.
just call them. I mean, a lot of times coaches are old school. They want to talk. They want to talk about, what they're doing and their athletes. And so, I've worked with Tennessee for quite a few years in a row Texas. I just worked with FAMU this year for the first time in a long time. So really, I just call the coach and say, hey, I like to work with them at least 3 times a year at the very beginning of the season. And then for collegiates in between indoor and outdoor, and then right before the NCAA championships or SEC championships. So I try to get a baseline, and then we have this stuff that we want to work on early in the season because we can do more stuff early in the season. Then we got the middle of the season where they're feeling a little run down because they're finishing with indoor, but then they got to go into the whole outdoor season. So we got to hype them up and give them some direction. And then at the end of the season, with tiny little tweaks because we're just about to have to be at our best, So it's really, I interact with all the coaches and I talk to lots of coaches.
Or CompuServe, just for people listening, or CompuSport. You're based in Atlanta, correct?
No, my company's based in Melbourne, and that's like my home base, but I spend a lot of time in Atlanta too.
Okay. Is there a different mindset with, we'll just use track, indoor track, outdoor track? I'm sure the weather comes into play, but is it that much of a difference when you're trying to, I don't know, get off the block, so to speak?
I think that there's a difference in an athlete that can be successful indoors versus one that can be successful outdoors, because the start is much more important in indoors because you have so much less space. You're running 60 meters instead of 100 meters. You're doing the 60-meter hurdles instead of the 100-meter hurdles. So the start's much more important. You can be shorter. Because when you're taller, you can run people down better, like at the end. The people that, come on at the end, that's usually taller people. So yeah, there's different kinds of athletes, but when it comes to pros, most of the pros really don't care about indoor. It's just like a workout, or a lot of them don't even run indoor at all. So, but for the collegiates, it's very important because it's scoring points, it's winning, it's that's what they're all about, So indoor is also important, but I still believe even in the collegiate ranks, outdoor is most important.
Does it matter? You mentioned tall and small, short, what have you. I again think, if you're taller, your legs are longer, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be faster, because I've seen some shorter guys really scoot. I mean, does it matter height versus speed?
It's not height, it's leg length. I wrote a paper about it for my dissertation. So it's really leg length, because you can be fairly short for your discipline, but if you're all legs, then that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's from your hip bone to the ground, and that's what really matters. And then with sprinters, we like the lower leg to be longer than the upper.
Okay. Now, how much is speed physical compared to mental? I mean, there's always a mental game, but how much, ratio wise, is it mental?
I don't know. I would say maybe 20% mental, just because if you're not solid mentally, it can destroy your career, basically. I mean, it's kind of like a make or break thing where, some people get injured all the time. Well, some people, when they show up to a race, they just can't make it work inside their head, and so they either throw everything they learned out the window and we call it street race, or somebody comes up on them and they just can't handle the competition. They focus on them instead of you, and so many times I see that. But it's grueling. I mean, it's a grueling thing to run, even in college. It's a full-time job. Like I tell parents when they try to talk to me, like, just don't let them expect to have the college experience. It's a full-time job. You're going to be, and it's wonderful. It was a great experience, but it's not college. Okay. You're working for something.
What injury do you see a lot of with track and field? I mean,
well, track and field's number one most common injury is the hamstring injury. But I've also lately been seeing more and more Achilles injuries.
Why is that? I mean, what? I mean,
It's
why
a
now?
pushing thing. And so when you push on your foot on one side of your foot, it destabilizes the Achilles. And there's also a lot of early specialization now. So they've just been pounding since they were like, I don't know, 5 or 10. And so the repetitiveness of the motion. So I'm not a big fan of early specialization.
I was just going to say, you hear about parents, not all, but they have their child in every sport, every single sport, and but do you find that? I mean, if you want to run, you want to run. Is it too early to start training someone for track and field? I know it sounds weird, but is it a negative if you're just running yourself into the ground early in life? Grade school.
I I think if you're running yourself into the ground, but if you have a solid AAU program with a coach that is developmentally appropriate, and it's not just that though, they have to have time off. I mean, even professionals take time off, and collegiates take time off. There's a big value to rest, and I don't think that that's spoken about enough. And especially if you're talking about somebody who's still growing, their connective tissue is still developing, their cardiovascular system is still developing. You can't look at the child and compare them to yourself because their whole system is different than yours.
Yeah, and more flexible too. Is it discouraged? And I'm sure it's in the book. You've heard of people play baseball. Like athletes. Baseball, football, basketball. They could be drafted in any sport. They're that good. Is it discouraged to do that if you're a track? Like if you're coming up and you got a scholarship to college, just strictly focus on that?
No, I think if we have such a deep talent pool that a lot of times the football coaches will let them run track or say they're going to let them run track, but then they don't. So really, if you're running track, it's because you don't want to do those other things. You want to
Mm,
run track.
true. I mean, you've heard, I have, following football, the track star never played football, but they draft him in football. He's never been hit, never been tackled, just for his speed. And I'm like, wow, okay, welcome.
But that can be a rude awakening, and that cannot work. I mean,
I mean,
look at Jeff Demps, Marvin Bracey. I mean, there's a lot of examples where they are Olympians in track and field, but
right, exactly.
the wear and tear of football is a different story. It's just a completely different thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're turning, you're twisting your knees, and
You're taking hits. We don't hit in track and field.
that is true. That is true. That would be interesting. Any lesson in sports over your career, so to speak, that applies to everyday life, in your opinion?
Absolutely. Don't look to somebody else for validation. Know
Okay.
your own worth, know your value, and don't let somebody else tell you you can't do something. I mean, there's truly things you can't do, but you can give it your best shot, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, true, true. Is there anything that you hope the readers of your book, The Science of Speed, will take away from the book that they can't get on YouTube or, social media? Is there anything in the book that is, because there's so much stuff out there who you don't know what to believe.
Consider your source, do your research. Make sure that when somebody tells you something, it's not their opinion. Find out where it comes from. So I have 20 years of research and data, hard data. So when I go out and work with somebody, it is not my opinion. It is absolutely science based, and I can show you all the data and I can show you the regression equations and all that stuff. So,
Ew.
and if the person you're challenging can't do that and pushes back, then there's a problem there.
Yeah, true. Now, have you attended? I know you have worked with Olympic athletes. I'm assuming Olympic athletes that you know did well.
Yes.
Uh,
Noah Lyles, Julian Alfred, you know, Dustin Gatlin, that kind of
cool,
stuff.
cool. Now, have you attended Olympic games?
I have not attended Olympic Games, but
Right.
there's going to be one in LA that's very accessible. The thing is, we used to only go to competitions where we could film, and there is no way you're getting on the field for the Olympic Games. So
But yeah, I mean,
that,
as a fan, just
but as
just
a fan, yeah,
to
but that
go
was
to the
always the
Olympics.
approach before. But for me now, I would love to go to Olympic Games,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
this one's going to be the most conveniently located.
true, true. My wife and I were like, well, we should go. Like, easier said than done. But like you
Yeah.
said, now it's in LA, and again, there's cost involved.
Well, I'm in the lottery, so we'll see.
Okay, cool, cool. Is there an audio version of the book? I mean, obviously you can go online and you Google the titles. Is there an audio version or anything?
Have an audiobook yet. I just published it in June of this year. So I'm have a Kindle edition and a hardcover and softcover. So I'm kind of, putting that out there, and then there's still a possibility of an audiobook.
Okay. I'm assuming there's diagrams and photos and stuff in the book that are
Yes.
showing what you're teaching, so to
Yes,
speak.
absolutely. There's a lot of that.
Do you have a favorite athlete? And I'm not talking about somebody you have worked with. I'm just saying in general, whether you met the person or not, besides your father.
Favorite athlete. Well, the favorite athlete that I've worked with is Christian Taylor. He's an Olympic gold medalist in the triple jump. He was a Gator also, and we worked with
Gators.
him a lot. And he won a lot of medals, and just a great person. He would always thank all the officials, and it was just very humble and very elite, but carried it off in a really classy way.
Nice,
But
nice.
to watch, gosh, I like Messi.
Okay, there you go.
He seems like maybe somebody who's unlikely, but
Hmm.
is incredibly gifted.
I mean, that's a whole different speed set. You're
Hmm.
running, but you got to control the ball. It's like start, go, bang,
Yeah,
boom. Yeah,
and he has
that's.
vision. He has a vision for what he does, which
Mhm.
is really interesting.
Yeah. How about a favorite team? I'm going into the sports realm now. Favorite team besides the Gators?
Besides the Gators, the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Ah,
I'm a Bucks
okay,
fan. When you grow up
okay.
in Orlando, I mean, they're the closest thing you got.
True, true. Okay, yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, but I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It's good to meet you.
You have been listening to Unmuted with Papa Mutes.